Top of the morning, everybody. Welcome to Cowboys, Trailers, and Ranches. I'm Jimbo, and I am super stoked about today. My guest and co-host is the man with the plan, the big dog himself, Mr. Tom Hirsig, CEO of Frontier Days. Thank you, sir.
Jimbo, good to see you.
Buddy, it's great to be here. Great to be here.
Well, we started this early, right?
Yeah,
Now that we're on our third day.
We did. Yeah, third time's the charm.
But you've got to enjoy Frontier Days a little bit.
Yes. So true story. We got here on Friday. We tried this first time, and it took us twice. And long story short, third time's the charm. And we've got the big man's permission today. So I feel good.
I think I've just done such a bad job that you keep erasing it and starting over. I think you've got to make it up stuff up.
Well, I told you, dude, this was entertaining. So, so this is day 3.
Day 3.
So what do you think so far? I mean, what's your feeling? What's your vibe so far of the rodeo so far?
You know what? It's great as far as you know. It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, all the little hiccups and stuff.
Just take that. Just go with that.
But for the crowds and stuff, we've had a great 3 days. We had Eric Church Friday night, and last night Chase Rice and Old Dominion, they put on a hell of a show, and the rodeo yesterday was out of this world.
Dude, the bucking horses
jumping the fence, getting on the track.
Dude, that was, and I was down low, and my wife and I got some great shot. I mean, dude, that's some of the best bucking horses.
Yeah.
That's some of the best bucking stock I've seen.
And that production crew out there, they run that rodeo fast. I mean, if you've never been here, you've never seen a faster paced rodeo ever.
Absolutely.
That rookie bronc riding is just out of this world.
Oh, and then the women's.
Yeah,
the women's.
They did a tremendous job, didn't they? The women's. This is the World Championship women's bronc riding contest, and
salty. That's all I can tell you. Them women, I'm telling you what, they are. There was some of them women. I'll tell you, I would put up against Cowboys any day of the week.
So, people ask about that, like that woman's bronc ride, why you do that? But I wish I could show this to everybody, but we have footage of women bronc riders in like the 30s. And those women actually rode with one hand, and they had a parasol in their, little umbrella in one hand.
Right.
And those horses bucked. And I mean, those ladies, they were sticky.
I'm telling you,
ride those horses.
I'm telling you, it was. Yeah. If you haven't been, I'm gonna tell you all this because I tell you all the time anyway. If you haven't been, you got to go because this is absolutely premier bucket list stuff, guys. And I mean, we talk about bucket list stuff. You got to be there. But I'm telling you, you're missing out. You're doing yourself an injustice if you're not a part of this.
If you blink, you're going to miss something.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a little bit about Tom Hirsig and what got you here and family and heritage. And I know you got a little bit.
Yeah, certainly. I was born into it. So my family, my great uncle was one of the co-founders of Cheyenne Frontier Days back in 1897.
Wow.
So I grew up on a ranch just north of here, but at the end of July, not a great time in the ranching industry, but we packed up and we came to town and volunteered. Brought our horses to town. My dad was the arena director for 37 years when I was a kid, and then I took over the range from him running the arena, but I started running calves out of this arena and steers out when I was about 10 years old.
Wow.
So, it's always been a part of our life, big part of our life. My sister she was named Miss Frontier, Lady in Waiting, but she was killed in a car wreck during that term, so she never got to be Miss Frontier. So, well, I mean, but that just goes to, how much we love this event, and and my story is not unique. There's lots of volunteers around here that are 4th generation, 5th generation. That, it's just. It's
heritage.
It's a great time, but it's also an emotional time because of all the past people that have been here, and that ties into the rodeo too. I mean, you step on the floor of the arena and you can ask any contestant. It's a feeling like you don't get anywhere else. Because we had 15,000 people here watching the rodeo yesterday.
It's electric.
And every great cowboy that's ever been has come through this arena. Right. So
absolutely,
it's a magical place.
Right. I've always called it, and I know it's kind of a stereotype, but greatest show on dirt. I mean, And the outdoor, just being outdoors with all the open Wyoming spaces, so to speak, the western skies, as Chris Ledoux says, right? I'm telling you, I mean, I look at it like NFR is the greatest show under a roof, right?
Yeah.
Pendleton's the greatest show on grass.
Yeah.
Granddaddy is right here, greatest show on dirt, which I still think it's the greatest show on earth.
Yeah.
Serious. I mean, you're probably a little biased.
Oh, absolutely. But I competed. I actually won the steer roping here in 2002. So I mean, I was a competitor. I went to the national final steer roping, and those rodeos, Pendleton, Sheridan. I mean, there's some great rodeos out there. There really is, but. There's just a different feeling here. I mean, JD Yates, who's a good friend of mine, came here. I don't remember how old he was when he finally made the short round in the steer roping. But there's a guy that'd been to the national finals when he was 14 years old. And he said when he rode in the box here in the short round, he said his mouth was so dry he couldn't even swallow. and JoJo Lamont came here one year and he came back in 2 events. And I talked to him that morning. I said, JoJo, are you nervous at all? And he says, you know what? I don't get nervous at rodeos. I've never got nervous. He says, I didn't sleep a wink last night. And he ended up winning the all around, which was great. But,
you kept some pretty good company back then.
Yeah.
That was some pretty good company. Wow. So Cheyenne Frontier Days is how old now? I mean, so what do we go back to?
127.
127 this year.
Yep.
127. That's freaking amazing. Absolutely amazing.
We missed 1 year, the COVID year we missed.
Wow. So. And for you to go all the way back, I mean, you probably didn't have a choice, did you?
No. There was no choice. But you know what? It just like I've never missed a Frontier Days my whole life. I've never missed one. So it's but
not sure anybody can say that. You probably got a lot of people beat on that.
I did miss one rodeo. My daughter was playing in an all-star basketball game after she graduated from high school, and I missed the first perf to go watch her play, and I think that's the only one I've ever missed.
Wow. Well, that was a little important, though. So you probably made a good choice. You probably made a good choice.
Yeah.
I'm sure your wife thinks
you know what's funny is they rodeoed right along without me. So sometimes you think you're
Tom will catch up later. We'll get him.
Yeah.
He'll be at the next one.
You think you're irreplaceable, and you really aren't.
That would have been that was 2002, and you won. Man, that had to have been like pinnacle stuff for you, right?
I wasn't even going to enter that year. Because I was the rodeo chairman that year, and I was busy and I wasn't going to enter, but I was rodeoing with a guy named Harold Baumgartner, which I'm sure a lot of the old timers certainly know about Harold Baumgartner. But I was rodeoing with him. He was living around here, and I said, I'm not going to enter, and I got too much to do. So he had my card number because he'd been entering us all. He went ahead and entered me. I wasn't even.
You weren't even going to enter.
No, and probably
buddy.
I tell people
you need buddies like that.
So I was the rodeo chairman that year. So I hired the secretary, the stock contractor, the judges. If you can't win it, then you don't deserve it.
there ain't no use throwing a leg over.
No.
That's good stuff, man. Good stuff. So I wasn't here for the ceremony, but I dang sure watched it. But when Chris Ledoux's sculpture was put here, what does that, number one, what was that ceremony like? But number two, what does that bring? What does his legacy bring to Cheyenne Frontier Days?
Well, Chris Ledoux grew up in Cheyenne. He went to high school here. He used to ride his horses out to this park, and so I remember Chris Ledoux selling his 8-track tapes out the parking lot. Yeah, for those of you that remember 8-track tapes, right? Yeah. So
way to be, Tom. You just uncovered some age there. Good job.
So and a lot of people don't know this. They know that Garth Brooks and Chris had a great relationship, but how that relationship started was right here at Cheyenne Frontier Days. We had booked Garth Brooks to come in. His wife was going to have a baby about that time, and he called us a few weeks before and said, man, it looks like it's going to be right about the time. He said, I'm not going to miss my baby being born. We said, well, we get that. So we booked Chris as a backup. And so Garth's baby came early, so Garth could still come. And we said, well, then we need to call Chris. And he says, no, don't, just have Chris come. He said, I'll share with that whatever with him. So they ended up playing the show together, and they become very like best friends almost.
So that was what start. That's the whole start.
That's how it started with Garth and Chris. And
Wow.
and so when we did this statue, of course, Garth wanted to be a part of it. He came and
Yeah.
played when we dedicated that statue, and then he actually came and dedicated the
Right,
statue.
Right. That's
And that
big.
was pretty cool to have him do that. You know, Chris, of course, being from here, when he would play shows, I remember shows he'd play and it'd be pouring rain, and he would just never give up. You know, just he would put on better shows when it was pouring rain. Nobody would leave. But we had to get on our stage that we rolled down front. We had to fix this netting to the stage, because when he'd play Copenhagen, everybody'd throw their Copenhagen cans on the stage. And so we had to put that, because we didn't want him to get hit. So we had to put that net up there when he played.
God.
And even today at the statue right along Interstate 25, it come out there Monday morning sometimes throughout the whole year, and there'll be Copenhagen cans placed on his, on the statue, maybe a 6-pack of beer. I mean, it's funny how that guy affected people's lives. I mean, just
unbelievable.
And you think about a guy like that, two of the toughest things to rise to the top of, rodeo and the music industry, and he did it in
He
both.
killed it in both. And how
do you do that?
I'm telling you, every time I think about that, because I grew up a huge Ledoux fan, and he was the reason I decided to ride bareback horses.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, every time I think about what he's done and just listening to his music, what an impact that guy has had, not only on this sport, the state of Wyoming, and anybody that weren't maybe not a cowboy before they started listening to his music.
Yeah.
And I dang sure can tell you they were after, and started following him and listening to his music.
Yeah. And Ned's following in his trails.
He's a clone.
Oh, exactly.
The older he gets, he's a clone of Chris.
His remarks and his facial, you go, man, that is Chris. Boy, you talk about a good guy.
Just great family.
In fact, he's coming here to play a volunteer appreciation private concert for the volunteers after the show.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, the only people that can go is the volunteers. And there's very few guys that come do that. So.
Wow. That's huge.
But this deal means a lot to that family.
Well, and obviously you guys opened up your arms for that. For that whole sculpture, and man, that's big. Dude.
So next year is going to be, and this is probably, we haven't even announced this and probably won't for a while, but next year will be the year of the cowgirl. And we've got, there's some people here in town that just love that Chris Ledoux statue. And they said, but women were a big part of the history.
100%.
So we have the same artist, Michael Thomas from KC, who did the Ledoux statue, is now working on a statue of a woman bronc rider, and it's going to be placed out there next year. So
dude,
you're the first one to hear this.
Wow.
You got the scoop.
You hear that? That is, dude, that's big. That is so cool. We talk, I really tried to make notice of cowgirls, and we salute the women. We salute the cowgirls like I do the military, and as much as the cowboys. That's big. That's gonna get you a lot of love, dude.
Yeah.
That's gonna get you a lot of love.
They're a big part of the Western heritage.
Absolutely.
I mean, growing up on the ranch, I remember my mom having to not only help us move cows and get up at 4 a.m. and go do the work, but then she had to get the meals ready and do. My goodness, they would take care of the house.
I can attest to that. I can attest to that myself. My mom was the same way. She get right out there
and always in the shadows.
Yep. And took care of everybody else first before they take care of themselves.
Big part of our Western heritage.
Yes, 100%. Man, that's big. That is
big. That'll be.
Thanks for sharing that, man.
Yeah.
That. Y'all heard it.
Yeah.
Y'all heard it. That's cool. that is really cool. So I know y'all are big in military and support the military, especially with Air Force Base being here in town. What is the military? What part do you think the military has or has become to rodeo?
Well, to rodeo, I mean, I can't speak generically across all the rodeos, but I can talk specifically about Cheyenne.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we hired a guy. He's came from Disney, and they're called futurists or Imagineers. That they talk about, trends in industry, and they try to help you recognize what are those traditions in 25 years that are still going to be, resonate with people. What are those? Is it a purple dinosaur at your front gate? What is that? So we had a guy come in and he worked with us because we needed to know, of course we got to make improvements here, but where is Cheyenne Frontier Days going to be in 25 years?
Right.
And that's
True.
that's a hard question to answer.
Yeah. How do you forecast?
So, well, when we got to the end of it, it's really easy and it's nothing really surprising. But you need somebody to talk you through that. So the things that we talked about were, the Western heritage, of course, and that's always going to be something that it's going to ebb and flow a little bit. I mean, right now with Yellowstone and all the stuff going on, it's, it's kind of like the urban cowboy day.
100%.
But the one thing that we understand is there's two American heroes that are always going to stand the test of time. Always have, always will. And that is cowboys and the military.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You're going to have your Spider-Mans and all these other heroes out there. But at the end of the day, if you hang your hat on those two for us, we're going to be successful.
Right on.
And who knows what that means in 25 years? It gives you a lane to go down and say, every decision you make, are we honoring that tradition?
Love that.
It's not complicated.
It's not. And you just said it. Two things that will always be the same, always stay true, always be traditional, always be heritage and generational are the military and cowboys.
Absolutely.
And the West. You're right.
So back to your question, what does the military do for Cheyenne Frontier Days? So the base right across the street, F.E. Warren Air Force Base, right across the interstate from here, has been a part of Cheyenne Frontier Days since the day we started. The one thing where it really hit home to us of how you start taking things for granted. And when the COVID year hit, of the year after that, the military was still in lockdown. They were worried about the troops and making sure that our military stayed strong, and the whole, the deal with vaccinations and stuff, that was always kind of up there. But what they said was, if you weren't fully vaccinated, they didn't want them out volunteering, justifiably so.
Right.
We didn't know the impact of that because we have their volunteers, and when we call them volunteers, we pay their group. So every military has a group that they generate funds so they can do, fun stuff with their groups. So we hire those groups out here at Cheyenne Frontier Days. They clean our stands, they clean stuff all around the park, they sell our beer, they sell food, they do all.
That's way cool.
And when we couldn't get those people, we were worried about our volunteer force. We didn't think too much about that.
The military.
Holy crud, that put a dent in us.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
I apologized to the military because I said, look, I've taken you guys for granted. I didn't know how much you did out here. They're incredible. I mean, there's probably 2,000 people from that base that come here, do stuff out here.
Didn't realize that. Wow.
They're just like they're like we talked about. They're behind the scenes in the shadows. Don't ask for anything.
Just get it done.
Yep.
Just get it done.
They're a huge part of Cheyenne Frontier Days.
Wow. Well, that answers my question. Learn something new every day. One of the reasons I asked you that is we are major advocate, Cowboys, Trailers, and Ranches, major advocate in the military, and I try to bring them to light as much as I can. In fact, I guess a couple months ago, we had an episode where all my Air Force buddies, being a veteran myself, we do a reunion every year. And this last year was in San Antonio. So I made a podcast with those guys in the podcast. Yeah. And it was pretty much dedicated to the military, that episode. But at the same time, I tried to relay to everybody how much the military, the Western way of life, the cowboy are the same people. Are the same people. And obviously you just hit it. You just hit the nail on the head when you said, hey, they're the two that are going to be the same
Yep.
throughout history.
Yep.
And they have been.
Same values, same everything.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you said that, because it's near and dear to my heart. And I hope everybody listening and watching takes a little bit to heart on this also. So
They will. We're in a place in our world that a lot of us don't like where we are, but you know what? The truth will win out, and the core values will come back.
right. I agree. I agree. And I think you see it. I think you see it more and more every day. Yeah,
Yep,
absolutely. And the more people get interested in this sport, rodeo, it's literally, I mean, it's the greatest show on earth, but at the same time, it's the same values as a military man. It's the same values that this country was built on. So I challenge y'all right now to today, if you see one, give them a hug, give them a handshake, tell them how damn thankful you are for what they do, and that we still can be doing what we're doing right now and be free. So,
and teach the younger generation
Thank
about
you.
those values.
Absolutely.
That's the key.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
We got to get the next generation.
Yep.
To
It's all about the youth.
this. Absolutely.
It's all about the youth. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up.
And I think our youth is ready for that. I see some things in the youth today. Volunteerism is coming back with that generation. We have a youth volunteer program here where we take the kids under 18. We let them come out here, and we kind of expose them to all the different committees. And we just started this a couple of years ago. Keep in mind, we're in a community of 60,000 people, and we've got over 50 youth volunteers that just come out here and they dress
That's
up
so
like
cool.
cowboys. And
So cool.
That the next generation is going to be a good generation.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And you know what? That's what I'm banking on too.
Yeah.
I really am. I'm really banking on the next
Yeah.
one. They're going to be the next.
But we got to help
powerhouses.
them.
We do.
We've got to be the voices.
Yep, absolutely. We set the standard, and we set the pace.
Absolutely.
Right on.
It takes all of us.
It does. Hey, when you just brought that, I just want to tell everybody that is out there listening and watching, that anybody that thinks that these rodeos that are put on, these events, Frontier Days, National Finals Rodeo, whatever it might be, these gentlemen, these ladies are not paid. This is a volunteer.
Yeah.
This is a volunteer basis. And so the next time you see one of these rodeos, the next time you see this gentleman here or someone that's similar to this gentleman, shake their hand and tell them how thankful you are for it.
Now, I am paid. I am paid. This is a full-time job.
I wasn't going to say it.
We got 3,000 other people out here. They do all the operational stuff at this show. So every time you go through a gate, or if you're a contestant and somebody's opening the chute or parking your car for you, that's volunteers. Those are volunteers.
The people that are out there.
Yes.
On the
people
front
that are
lines.
actually working are volunteers. That's what
Well, I was going to let you say that. I wasn't going to say it.
They're incredible. They really are.
Yes, they are, because it takes if you haven't been, you just walking around, seeing how this thing operates. I mean, it's a well-oiled machine.
Well, and you can't replace that with paid staff. I mean, those volunteers, they love this event as much as I do, and they treat our customers that way. So
True.
You get treated differently.
It's a business.
Yep.
No, it's still a business, right?
Yeah.
It's still a business. So,
Yeah.
Well, good job.
Well, thanks.
Good job. Good job getting paid too. All right, so I'm gonna let you throw out. I know you got 1.3 million of these things of memories and special times. Throw out one that sticks in your mind. It may stick in your mind for more than the others.
Well,
one
of them that stuck in my mind for, I mean, I don't remember even how old I was, but I was working in the arena, and we used to have flat track racing, horse racing coming down our track, and we'd have a rodeo going at the same time, and it didn't matter if we were in the bronc riding or if it was post time, they just run. We didn't stop the rodeo; they just run. And I actually had parimutuel wagering. I mean, it was like, you talk about the ultimate 3-ring circus. It was going on. So Doug Bowles up in the bronc riding, and if you haven't been to our arena, we have a camera pit that sits in between the stands and the arena, and it's a sunk down camera pit where our photographers go and they photograph the rodeo through there. So it's not as tall as our regular fence, but it's pretty wide, so the horses don't typically go over the top of it. But they do once in a while, as they did yesterday.
Yeah, I was gonna say history repeated itself yesterday.
So Doug Volt goes in the bronc riding about the same exact time they kick the horses down the track, and they're running down through there. And that bucking horse, he sees those horses come running down the track, and with Doug on him, he just clears that camera pit, lands on him, and jockeys go everywhere.
Cleared it.
Some of them stayed on, but Doug's horse, of course, wasn't fast enough to keep up with the race horses. So he's behind all the race horses. They go clear around our mile track and come back around the front, and there's about half the horses have jockeys on. They can't stop them because they're scared of this bucking horse behind them. And Doug comes around with his hat off to the crowd. And, I mean,
putting on a show.
Oh yeah,
Putting on a show.
It was crazy.
Like it was supposed to happen.
Yeah, and, I mean, you couldn't have had a better guy than Doug Volt doing that, because he loved doing stuff like that.
Oh gosh, that's a good one, man. That's a good one. I can see it, especially after seeing yesterday.
Yeah,
If y'all didn't see yesterday's performance, boom.
yeah, they get over that.
Oh, that's fun. That's a good story. That's a good one. So I come up with one question for everybody, all my guests, and it's an industry question.
Okay.
If you could change one thing in our Western industry, Western culture, to keep it Western, what would that be?
That's kind of a tough question.
Well, you got to think a little bit. Jeopardy. Dun, 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 dun.
I guess what I would say is, we need to come together as a Western industry, and we all need to be rowing in the same direction. And, there's times we're very cannibalistic to ourselves, and it's so easy with social media to point out the wrong, and really not have solutions, but just point out wrong things and things you disagree with. Well, every time you do that, and you put that stuff out there, that takes our industry down a notch. You're not helping our industry. Now, constructive criticism is fine. If there's things, certainly none of us are perfect, right? But every time we criticize things within the Western industry, whether it be a contestant or a rodeo committee or whatever that is, we're taking a step backwards.
Yeah.
You're not helping fix the solution or fix the problem. Well, all we're doing is we're going, well, there's another reason not to support Western heritage, and that's not how we should be. We should support each other as much as possible. Now, that doesn't mean you and I have to agree on everything. That's not my point.
No.
But social media is so powerful that you can get people stirred up on misinformation, and we just need to do a better job as people. And we need to be more proactive about when somebody does post stuff, put the positive things out there. We're all in this together. We all want the same thing at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
We want these cowboy hats to mean something.
That's right. Gosh, that's good.
And so that's what I would say. We just need to be the leaders on how we treat people.
I like that. Get along.
Yes.
Get along a little better.
Yep.
Get a little. It's not funny, but as you bring that up, I met a young lady yesterday. Just a really powerful, driven, just a ray of sunshine, right? And we got to visiting, and she had brought up that, and I didn't realize this, and you may. There is a thing right now called Western bullying.
Mm-hmm.
So that goes right along with what you're saying. And I honestly, man, didn't even realize that there was that such thing in art.
And I didn't either, but it's prevalent, and it's
crazy.
I think it's a little more hidden than it used to be. I mean, it used to be, the riots and the racism were out there in the news and stuff, but in our local community, we struggle with that. Kids getting bullied in school.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And racism in the school. So we got Chancey Williams, who, his song, "The World Needs More Cowboys," to do a video for us to talk about, the cowboys are the ones and the military are the ones that stand up for people that maybe can't stand up for themselves, and we stand up when somebody's not being treated correctly, and we don't
Right.
care what color their skin is, where they came from. What we care about is how you treat your neighbor.
That's right. That's
And
right.
we're
That's
all
right.
neighbors.
We all are neighbors.
So it's a very powerful video. Cowboy Channel would be playing it.
Yep.
But it is good, and we wanted to do that especially because we have a lot of people that come here on this base. They come from all over the world to come serve our country, and if we're not treating those people properly,
Why do they
these
want
are
to
the
stay?
people that are defending
That's right.
us.
Yep.
So, most people I think are like you and me. We don't treat people differently
No,
because
none.
of where
Zero.
they come from.
Nope.
So,
And I think that's why a lot of people, if they haven't been in our industry or been a part of our Western culture and heritage and industry, they really want to because of the model
right.
that they see.
Yes.
Right. And that model is you and I's job
Yeah.
to keep that model
Absolutely.
in the line, not so much the limelight, but keep it where it needs to be.
Yeah.
And that's all that goes back to dad and granddad and the way we were raised.
Yeah. The definition of cowboys has changed a lot. I mean, 30, 40 years ago, cowboys were cowboys out on the ranch and that.
Yeah.
But you know what? Cowboys is more of a value driven thing than it is anything else. And I tell people that all the time that, people that come here and they only wear a hat 10 days out of the year,
Yeah.
their boots 10 days
Yep.
out of the year.
Yep.
And they say, man, I wish I was a cowboy. And I said, you know what? You can be a cowboy.
That's right.
You just accept those values, the code of the West, the ethics of the cowboy. That's what cowboys are today.
Yes, sir.
And it doesn't matter if they're women, men, black, white, brown. It doesn't matter.
Nope.
A cowboy is a value.
And it comes from right there.
Absolutely.
Comes from right there. I'm glad you said that because there's a lot of misconception going on right now on that same thing.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, just because you wear that, you know what? I mean, it's got to come from here.
And that Chancey Williams song, the University of Wyoming adopted that as their kind of and they kind of got some criticism about that because people started throwing that into so you don't want cowgirls? No, that cowboys is not a generic specific term anymore.
It's not.
It's a value term.
It is. Right. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up. You had done some good things, man. We should do this every week.
Well, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. I've had a couple cups of coffee.
I feel philosophical.
Right.
Well, it's my time to give some love out to the people that give this thing some love. Ranch Texas, ranchtexas.com. Check them out. Check out all the cool listings. If you saw recent podcast on 125-acre therapeutic ranch in Liberty Hill, Texas, it is absolutely gorgeous, but that's just one of many. So ranchtexas.com. Thank you again. Rodeo Rigs out of Montana, always there for us. Laredo Conversions out of Weatherford, Texas, building the coolest trucks on the planet. And also the Cowboy Roundup. Please, 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 please. We talked about the youth today a lot. The Cowboy Roundup is an amazing nonprofit rodeo clinic scholarship organization that needs a lot of love because it's for the best cause. So please reach out to Miss Patty Franklin. Also, coolest beaver box, or coolest hat box in the industry right now is called the Beaver Box. And thank you for that product in Oklahoma. Find that at Shorty's Cowboy Hattery. So, and if you haven't heard me lately talk about her, you need to reach out on Instagram to Pendleton Mindy. You can reach her at Pendleton Mindy and tell her that you listened or watched the Cowboys, Trailers, and Ranches podcast. Tell her I sent you. Tell her Jimbo sent you. And she is going to send you a ton of love in Pendleton swag. So can't thank her enough and Pendleton for what they're doing and always riding for the brand. I promise you. So anyway, we'll call it a quick day. I'm going to let you get back to what you do.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, this has been amazing. I appreciate you guys. These guys, I'm telling you, show a lot of love and come see this. It's like I said, it's an event that you need to put on your calendar. If you're not here this year, make it next year. and come say hi to the big dog here. So
And if you can't come here, support your local rodeo.
yes,
Go there and thank those volunteers for what they do.
good point. Great point. Yeah. Thanks, man. Again,
You bet.
remember how we sign off?
Oh, shit. Are you kidding me?
Yes. No, I'm not
Kinda.
kidding you. No, I'm not kidding you. All
I
right.
think I do.
Right. Woo, third time. We're going to get out of here. I appreciate y'all. And I appreciate this, man. But this is
Don't
how
we start with Daddy of them all? Is that what is that how it goes?
That's how we. Yeah. Is that what you want to do? That's what we'll do.
No, I'm not going to break the vision.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, we're going to get out of here. We'll sign off. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Let her buck. Keep it Western. We'll see y'all next week.